Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TokYo-Yo Reviews. Sorry about the wind today. It's a little bit strong, but if I delay this review anymore, it's never going to come out, so I just got to knock it out right now. Sorry about my voice. I know I'm a little bit scratchy, my voice. I have been pretty sick, so I'll try to keep my voice as loud as I can. Anyway, let's get right into the review. Today we're going to be talking about the Yoyo Empire Promise. Is this Yoyo gonna go back on all of its oaths, or is this one promise that you know you're going to be able to keep? Alright, let's get into it. So, the Yoyo Empire Promise is a pretty good example of an H shape here. You've got the ridges going up here, got a couple interesting cuts, then this ridge here, and then the rims are quite rounded. The cup is flat with a little space for the nut in the middle. You also see the Promise logo with the Yoyo Empire here. The material is a very nice 6061, very smooth, just like most of Yoyo Empire's yo-yos. It's very easy to grind. The feel is pretty comfortable, actually. It fits in your hand well. It does feel large, though, but that's not really a bad thing. And the look of this thing, oh my goodness, the splash is just so nice looking. You can probably notice here that the paint is actually glossy or shiny. So it actually shimmers in the sun, which is really, really nice. I think this yo-yo looks spectacular. So the Promise is actually a yo-yo I had an eye on for a long time. It's the first Yoyo Empire that I've bought that's full metal. The Big Bang is plastic and the Tsunami is a metal plastic hybrid. This is the first full metal Yoyo Empire I've purchased. When I bought this, I went to Spin Gear in person, and actually the store owner there told me it was his primary throw. It was what he was throwing every day. So I was pretty excited to pick it up and try it out. This has a lot of very, very windy. This has a lot of really cool and interesting colorways, but I think this one by far is the most pretty. And also, when I tried to do research on this yo-yo, I found that I think the original Promise had hub stacks. I'm not sure about that, but this one definitely does not. This one is listed as Promise with Splash, so I think this might be like an updated version of it. Although it has a very, very nice splash, you might be able to notice there's some damage here on the rim. It's been ground up a little bit. Actually, while I was getting ready to make this review, I was doing a shot, and a kid in the park came up and stepped on it while I had it on the ground taking a shot. So that's where that damage comes from. But actually, it did loosen it a little bit, but there was no change in playability at all. Now, onto the playability of the Promise. It plays really stable. Like a typical H shape, it will tilt if you push it, but it does stay on plane pretty well. It's very comfortable to catch and hold because of the size, and H's generally, I think, are pretty comfortable. They tend to fit your hand pretty well. Actually, before this thing got damaged, I didn't want to finger spin it because I was afraid to scratch the paint, but after it got this damage here, I just decided, what the heck, I'll just go ahead and try a finger spin. And it does finger spin. Not the best, but it does work. You'll also be able to get some thumb grinds in here as well. There's not a huge lip, but if you throw it at an angle, it does thumb grind pretty well. Like I said earlier in the video, like all Yoyo Empires, this thing grinds like a dream. It just feels like the groove just guides you right there. Like even if you miss it, it's just gonna fit right into where it needs to go. It's pretty amazing. I think whoever designs Yoyo Empire yo-yos loves grinds, because I can't think of another reason why every Yoyo Empire I've played grinds beautifully. Decently smooth. It's not the most smooth yo-yo I have, and actually it is pretty nail vibey. It feels smooth on the string, but when you run a nail across it, it's pretty loud. But it's interesting because you don't feel it on the string that much. And I think part of the reason that it has some nail vibe, or you might feel the nail vibe, is because of the material. and it just seems to kind of resonate, almost rings like a bell when you run a nail on it. It's pretty interesting. Anyway, I think the Promise is pretty fun. I mean, it plays stable, it spins well, it doesn't really do anything poorly. Maybe just finger spins because you've got the nut in here. And as I have said in my other review of the Yo-Yo that I didn't like, there is a time and place where a nut can be part of a good design. I feel like they kind of nail it here. This does have a really long axle, so I think that's why the nut has to kind of poke, or why the axle pokes through is because it is pretty long. But this thing does tighten up well, and it's nice you don't strip it because you can notice the nut only goes as far as it needs to. So you can see when it reaches the end there, so you're never going to overstrip this thing unless you're really just cranking it without paying attention. Like, this thing just looks amazing. Especially in the light, it just glows almost, and the paint, as I said, shines, and then the unpainted part is just a really nice clear. It almost reminds me of One Drop's clear. Just really smooth, no blemishing at all on the anodization. Alright, so let's talk pros and cons of the Yo-Yo Empire Promise. As I said, the splash is gorgeous, and almost all the splashes for the Promise are really nice, but I think this one just knocks it out of the park. It's really nice. It's a fantastic price, actually. I got this one for around 4,000 yen, like 36 bucks or so. It was originally, I think, about 8,000 yen or so, but it was cut down in price quite a bit through Spin Gear, so I just couldn't pass it up. I think this was definitely worth 4,000. It's a really solid metal throw. And this yo-yo feels really reliable. It just feels like it's gonna do what you want it to do. It's not gonna turn unless you tell it to. It spins for just long enough, so it's a pretty good performer. As covered with stuff here. As for cons of the Yo-Yo Empire Promise, like I mentioned, it is a bit on the nail vibey side. That could be partly because of the material. It does tend to ring when you put your nail on it. But like I said, you can't really feel it on the string too much, so if that doesn't bother you, then it's no problem. The other Yo-Yo Empire throws, I have the Big Bang and the Tsunami, have a lot of character. And I feel like this is more like what you would expect from a typical yo-yo from a typical company. Now, I don't feel like that's a fair con, because saying it's not as special as other yo-yos is kind of a weird thing to say, especially when I think every company needs to have its normal spec, normal type yo-yo in its lineup. I think it's kind of unfair to say like it's not crazy special like the Big Bang, which is just a total weird thing. But I do feel like if you wanted to compare it to the other Yo-Yo Empires that I've reviewed, this one is not as out there as those are. But that doesn't mean it's a bad yo-yo. It's just, I think, a little more what you'd expect from a typical modern yo-yo and a typical modern yo-yo company. That said, it still plays well and it looks gorgeous. Even though it may not be as crazy playability-wise as the Big Bang or the Tsunami, it still looks more different and probably more flashy than any other yo-yo I have. There's a couple others like the Yo-Yo Steel that I think look amazing, but just in terms of like cool flashiness, this really kills it. And I'm a sucker for color. If any of you guys are gamers, games like Geometry Wars, I love games that use color and like really bright, intense style. So this is right up my alley. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. That's the Yo-Yo Empire Promise. I think it's a really interesting yo-yo. Like I said, not as crazy, special, unique as Yo-Yo Empire's other stuff, but definitely worth checking out if you can. Also, I have another Yo-Yo Empire coming in the mail I'm extremely excited about. So when that comes and after I've thrown it a bit, I'll definitely be making a video about that. But yeah, guys, I've gotten a lot of subscribers recently. I've almost hit 200 as of the recording of this video, and I just can't believe that. I'm really excited that people are watching. I'm super happy that people are enjoying the content, and I just hope that I can keep the quality up and keep people interested. Also, I put a poll in one of the last videos asking if people wanted to see some hand spinner reviews. I do have a couple of hand spinners, like this guy here, that I'd be willing to do maybe just mini reviews. I'm not as experienced with spinners, and I don't think that they should have big long reviews. But if you guys are interested, I'll try to put up a poll or leave a comment, let me know. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing, and see you next time. Sayonara.